I've always said it's a bunch of little numbers that add up to a really big number. That's ultimately what we're trying to validate. When we're looking at value engineering, it's what can you remove, reduce, or defer. What's up, Tyler?
Not too much. A little chilly here in New Jersey. I think it went down to 13 last night.
I woke up the other day. I'm not a guy that checks the weather, literally ever. If it's raining, like I leave and I'm like, oh, it's raining. And I, for some reason, decided at the age of 37 that I should check the weather before I leave the house today.
Getting old.
And it said 9 degrees. Yeah. And I was like, man, I'm glad I checked the weather. I wasn't planning on bringing a sweatshirt. And I was freezing. I don't do well in the cold. I wish.
Well, good thing you live in Boston.
Yeah. I feel like my circulation sucks. Like my toes, my feet get real cold. My hands get real cold. I also don't dress very well for the weather. So I think that might be, actually, that's probably what the issue is. And yeah, I don't know.
You better get used to it because I feel winter's just starting, so it's definitely not going to get better.
No, I know that. Yeah. And I don't know if actually, we went out the other night and I pulled out I have like a double layer like ski jacket, and Meg's like, whoa. I'm like, I know, I haven't worn this in like 8 years. She goes, why are you wearing it? I'm like, it's 9 degrees outside.
Yeah.
She goes, I know, but you never wear a proper coat. I'm like, today I do.
Yeah, I've been layering, working outside recently, which has been good. But yesterday was cold.
What do you do with your hands?
So when it gets really cold like yesterday, I actually wear my winter dirt bike gloves because they're a little thicker, but you also still have some dexterity.
Got it.
So most of the time I'm not wearing gloves, and it's not bad. If there's a little bit of sunshine and you're actually doing work, you stay warm enough. But like yesterday, I was just doing kind of BS and hanging a storm door and a little bit of trim here and there and kind of in between inside and outside. So I had to actually have a pair right here.
Yeah,
these ones are bright, but like they're like normal gloves, but then they just have a little bit of extra like wind protection. But I don't feel like normal. Yeah, and I'm usually good on that job until like 3 o'clock, and then the sun goes over the house.
Yeah.
And it starts to get cold. So I'm normally good, but if I have to, it's those gloves. I felt that they work the best. There's construction gloves I feel like just don't do shit.
No, I bought like years ago when I was doing a deck, and it was the same situation. There was never sun in the backyard, and I was out there using my hands, and I'm like, my hands, I can't. I kept sitting in my truck. I'm like, I can't move my hands. Yeah. And I end up buying these, I think they were ski gloves, but they essentially had this like wire coil that went around each finger.
Yeah.
And they had the same thing. I think I actually took the ski glove out and I just had the insert that was battery powered. So I had this like, I think it was like 3 AA's like strapped to my wrist.
Yeah. And
then I put, work gloves over it. And I'm like, that actually worked great. And then in my feet get freezing, and I'm an idiot with this. Like, I don't buy insulated boots. I should, because hey, that would help.
I don't either.
And so I end up using those like toe warmers, and I put them underneath my toes, or I'll put them like on top, or both, like sandwich my toes, and then I just stuff my feet in my boots.
Rachel's been trying to sell me on them. She bought like a bunch at Costco, and I'm like, I'm not bringing them. Once I bring them, I feel like I'm conceding to the cold weather. But one other tip for people that does help, and I've used this from riding dirt bikes as well, but you can just run like latex gloves and then a thinner glove over top of it. So like the latex glove keeps the wind off, and then also like does keep a lot of heat in your hands just from like not allowing sweat to get out.
Interesting.
And then like a thinner glove over top,
so like latex, like doctor gloves.
Yeah, or like the
like medical
latex. Yeah. They keep all the wind off. So like when it gets cold riding my dirt bike, we'll run them underneath like a normal glove.
I never thought of that.
It just keeps the wind off and keeps a lot of the heat in your hands. But then you can run the thinner gloves so you can still feel stuff.
I wonder if they make latex socks.
Oh. Probably.
Like with the toes.
Just run a glove. Just run a glove.
I feel like that's something my kid would do. Like put the gloves on his feet. It's like, look at my feet. I have hands for feet.
That's funny.
Well,
There's a more productive podcast today. If you've lasted this long, there's a much more productive podcast today that's going to help you out with business. We wrap up the pre-construction conversation quickly at the beginning because there's a couple of things that we had not touched on. Then we dig into transparency with numbers, and then also ensuring that you are operating a business that suits your needs but creates profitability and sustainability while not just forcing your program down your clients' throats, which I think there's a balance there. So
yeah.
I think it's a good conversation, productive. We're kind of all over the map on this one, but I hope that everyone enjoys it.
Let's get into it. Hey, builders, remodelers, and designers, this one's for you. The NAHB International Builder Show is happening February 17th through the 19th in Orlando, and it's where the industry's best come together. NAHB is giving Modern Craftsman 50 free IBS Expo passes to give away, but it's only one per registration, and, of course, first come, first serve. Don't miss your shot. Go to buildershow.com/moderncraftsman and claim your pass now.
This podcast is brought to you by Andersen. Quick question. What is the biggest door you've built into a home? 12 feet wide, 20 feet wide, 40 feet wide? I have not installed a 40-foot wide door. Maybe one day. I'm not sure if you knew this, but Andersen makes gigantic glass doors that can be up to 60 feet wide. Of course, you can downsize these a bit too if that's too much. But the point is, Andersen has gigantic walls of moving glass, and a lot of pros don't realize this. There are options for pocketing, stacking, folding, sliding, pivoting, and even being placed around corners or curves. Andersen big doors also have options for weather protection, and with Andersen's proven track record of support, installing them is easier than you might think. For more information, head over to andersenwindows.com/moderncraftsman.
This podcast is also brought to you by Buildertrend. If you're the type of builder who likes to know what's coming before it hits the industry, this webinar is for you. Buildertrend sat down with Russ Stevens from APB for an exclusive early look at the 2026 State of Residential Construction Industry Report. And I'm telling you, the profit insights in this webinar are gold. Russ breaks down the biggest early indicators of profitability and the 5 trends that will shape builder success going into 2026. If you want to stay ahead of the competition, this is the stuff that you need to know before the full report drops. Watch it on demand at buildertrend.com/MC profit levers.
This podcast is brought to you by Harnish. First off, I have been rocking my Harnish pants out in this weather, and I've been as Nick throws his leg up in the background, I have been pleasantly surprised. So thank you to Harnish. They've been keeping me nice and toasty, more toasty than the rest of my body. So first impressions matter, and your crew's appearance speaks volumes. Harnish Workwear helps your brand exude a commanding presence with custom branded gear that reflects the quality of your craftsmanship. Their H-Label program delivers premium work apparel personalized with your logo, colors, and details. It's more than a uniform. It's a walking representation of your brand. Clean, consistent, and built to perform. If you're ready to elevate your image and stand out from the competition, visit harnishworkwear.com and start building your brand from the ground up.
Dude, just a real quick note on that. We had hockey the other day because we have hockey every day.
Yeah.
So on the weekend, I woke up, put my Harnish pants on. I'm like, I'm going to be at the rink. I got to stay warm. I'm there all day. And I'm trying to think of where we went later. But we were at home. And I'm like, dude, I'm sweating. And Meg's like, why are you sweating? I'm like, these pants are so warm for inside. She's like, why are you wearing them? I'm like, because we had hockey this morning. She goes, oh. I'm like, yeah, they're I know I wear them at work, but they're also my dedicated hockey pants.
Yeah, I feel like my house is always so cold, so it doesn't bother me.
No, I was sweating t-shirt and pants. Tyler, it is very close to the end of the year.
We just celebrated Pearl Harbor Day. My family gets so pissed at me all the time because I'm like, Pearl Harbor Day's coming up. So, backstory. In
I was gonna say
in
that like you can't just open. What?
in sixth grade, I don't know why Miss Gillen just made us remember and memorize when Pearl Harbor Day was. I don't know why, but December 7th, 1941. So from sixth grade on, Selby's in seventh grade. She is 11. So almost 30 years later, I'm still recalling what Miss Gillen taught me about Pearl Harbor Day. But so I'm always aware of when Pearl Harbor Day is. So I hope you had a nice Pearl Harbor Day.
I believe I did. It was probably very similar to most of my other days. Is that one of
Sunday.
those Ember mugs? Do you have? Is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
And it just keeps your coffee warm all day.
I got it for Christmas last year. Rachel's parents got it for us. I mean, you have to keep it charged, but it'll keep your coffee warm for a very long time.
Do you charge it?
Yeah, I just leave it plugged in. So it's like there's a saucer that it
Yeah.
sits on that charges it. So it just lives on the counter. And then when I pour coffee, I'll have, a cup of coffee or two
I
with
guess
it.
I don't drink enough hot coffee to need that.
I mostly drink hot coffee.
Yeah. But I also feel like I don't, if I'm drinking coffee, I don't, if I'm drinking a hot coffee, I don't drink it over a long enough period of time that it would get cold enough to be worth it.
I don't love overly hot coffee either. Like if I bring it in a mug or a thermos to work and it's too hot, I won't drink it until it cools
Yeah.
off some.
Yeah.
But if I'm working from home, I'll use it.
I mean, there's literally nothing worse than drinking, burning your mouth.
Yeah.
And it's like, great, now I can't taste the rest of
Yeah.
the
It's like pizza. No, but it's nice. Like I said, on Tuesdays, I'm typically home. So when I'm doing paperwork, I'll just drink warm coffee. But that's about it. Sometimes on the weekends, I'll use it.
I forget what it's called, but I bought one of those. Oh, it's a Lark. I think it's a Lark water bottle. And I think they have since made just like normal water bottles that don't have any technology to them because, I mean, the water bottle phenomenon is bananas to me. Like
Yes.
Meg, she's like, they were on sale. I'm like, this, hold on. I'm going down the rabbit hole. This is the only water bottle I use.
Awala.
A Walla. Like, but it's like, this is mine. I fill it up every single day. It goes with me every single day. Like, I don't use another one. I rinse it out. I wash it. Like, but I don't switch it up. And my wife and all my kids will. It's like, nope, no, I don't want that one today. I'm like, this is insane. But I bought one of those Larks years ago. I think I got it for Meg for Christmas and myself one. But it had a button on top that basically had a UV light that you'd fill it up and then you press the UV light and it like kills all the germs.
Yeah.
And I charged it once. I'm like, I'm not charging this.
Yeah. That's like
I'm like,
cordless tools. I'm not a huge screw guns and stuff, but like there are other cordless tools where I'm like, I was using my cordless miter saw yesterday and the batteries died because it was freezing out. And I'm like, now I got to go grab batteries and charge batteries where like my miter saw is set up for the day. It's good when it's good, but a lot of times I'm not a huge charging fan. I'm like, I got to locate a charger. I got to go get this out and like if I got a charger plugged in and I had to run to the truck to plug a charger, like obviously screw guns, drills. I have like a rear
portable
handle,
stuff that you
like
carry.
a circular saw, but my table saw and miter saw. The miter saw is nice every now and then. I had to put a piece of quarter round in yesterday, so like that was convenient. But then I ended up doing more work than anticipated, so I set it up and was doing bigger work with it, and then it died. And I'm like, I could just have a miter saw plugged in right now,
right,
and not have to worry about this. But yeah, I get annoyed when I have to play or like camera batteries trying to charge camera stuff recording. I'm like, can I just plug this in without a battery on it? Wouldn't that be easier than trying to screw around with having a battery? Or how much battery life do I have left?
It's like annoying. The Dyson when you're like cleaning up your house and all of a sudden it just stops working. I'm like, sick. Or I was blowing out blowing off our driveway the other day because the kids were playing hockey, and I'm just I was like getting the neighbors' sides. I'm like cleaning the whole alley behind our house. And then the leaf blower just died.
Yeah.
Like just stopped. So everything looked fine. I was like, all right, it's fine. So then I move my truck back in the driveway after they're all done, and it's just this pile underneath my truck. I'm like, oh god,
I don't
I
own
gotta
a
go grab
rake.
I gotta go grab a broom. I gotta pick this up. It looks ridiculous. Um, but so last week we were talking about pre-construction, but we were talking about really um, the myth behind it, but also just like what it is, and I dug into a project that we ultimately were working through, and I think correct my correct me if I'm wrong, but since that episode, there's been an update on that project. I basically was telling you how I was working through a tier one estimate, and I shared this through email. If you guys aren't part of the Modern Craftsman email newsletter, you need to be, because I have been going super deep with the stuff that's happening in my business and just sharing a little bit more about how I'm doing things and why I'm doing things. But I did this tier one estimate on a big $5 million project. And I had talked about how we did that kind of, I mean, pro bono, whatever you want to call it. But ultimately, it's allowing me to get the reps in and getting more data for, our our information. The more projects we price, the more information we have, the more accurate we can be. But I'm not doing this, number one, all the time, but I'm also not just pricing work from a competitive perspective.
Sure.
And in this particular case, big architect that we've been wanting to work with, also a market that we want to be in, and we were introduced to the project. We interviewed, the client really liked us, and then he had said that he was going to talk to another builder. And the backstory is the other builder knew I was looking at it and said, I'm going to they were like, we'll put together an estimate if he's not going to. And I said, well, I'm not going to play this game. Like, I'll just do a tier one. It will take me a day to do it. Actually, I don't even know if I've told you this story. So I was like, I'm just going to take one day. It will take me a full day, but I'll put together a whole tier one estimate. I'll be super detailed with it. Because our estimate sheet and what we put together, every single client we've ever shared with is like, holy shit, like this is
Yeah.
really, really detailed. And I appreciate, like, we break it down in tiers. Like, there's like a cover page that's simple. Then there's the schedule of values, which is like, I don't know, a little less than 100 line items. And then there's one with literally 2,000 line items. And it just gives the client an understanding of how we're thinking about the project and builds a lot of trust. So
Your client, all your clients go through that.
So we don't, I mean, the short answer is yes. But that's why we have the cover page
Yeah.
and the schedule values, because they can just look and, like, we just get right to the point. Like, it's $5.1 million.
Yeah.
Like,
So
it's actually at the top too. It's not even at the bottom, because we don't want to, I don't want them flipping to the page. It's like, hey, like, it's 5.1 now, but we typically walk them through the 2,000 line items.
sure.
Like, not line, like, all right, here's screws here. Like, it's
No, but and if there's things I think like I highlight on mine, either areas of concern or potential cost savings,
Mhm.
or if something just is really speaking to me where it's like this is an exorbitant cost that we might
Exactly.
be able to avoid, or like this is just something that was unanticipated that's driving the cost of this job. But I
Yeah.
asked because my current project, the portion I'm building, I sent it, and it's a client I've worked for I think it was before Selby was born. It's her second house that she's in that I'm working on, and there's just a level of trust there. So when I sent her the entire breakdown of the job and contract, she wrote back like, "Looks great," basically immediately. And I'm like, I just spent 40 hours putting together this budget over the
Yeah.
course of a couple weeks, and there's no way that you looked through that whole thing.
Mm.
She's like, "No, but I trust you." I was
Right.
like, "Okay, cool."
And that, I mean, that's ultimately like the best position to be in, right? Is to build trust. So for us, like, this is oftentimes where we get that first opportunity to build that trust. And we'll go through, like, every division, all the scope is outlined. And this is actually a tool that really has this is where I've actually really leveraged AI is making sure that as we're doing it, like I'm not having AI do the estimate, but I am having AI help me narrate the scope of work and make it super clear and most importantly consistent. Because for me, this particular it's a $5 million house. It took me exactly 11 hours basically of dedicated work sitting at my desk of to put this together, right? So you start out super high energy.
Yeah.
I'm typing out everything like this is like super detailed, like but concise and like really be able to understand. By the time I'm in like plumbing, I'm like plumb the house.
Yeah, dude.
I'm just out of steam. So part of it is like I've said, no, I want consistency. I want the client to understand what is going into this, and it's robust. Like it's nice because it's essentially like all the cost codes, our scope of work, how the value is made up, whether it's a sub, material, labor, and it's is it an allowance, and then we have this basically column where we decide what schedule value column it goes in, and I'm realizing this is probably hard to follow uh, from an audio perspective. But what that does is on our schedule of value sheet, we essentially have columns based on the area. So in this case, we had main house, garage, site work, landscape.
Yeah.
So that way, when you're putting together the $5 million worth of cost, you can then see it divided by the different areas that this project is going to be broken up in. So fast forward, well, I'll tell the story that I alluded to in the email. So I'm done. Electrical, finish it off. Alarm, done. Looking at everything. Yep. How's the contingency? Contingency is good. File save. And mind you, I save it every time I go to a new division, I'm saving it.
Yeah.
So I have it's saved. File save. Disk full. I'm like, disk full. It's like, what? So I start investigating why I can't save this file. It will not save on my computer. It will not save on my desktop. Like it just will not save. So I'm like chatting with Doug and he's like, check this, check that. And I check it and I realize that my hard drive is literally at capacity, like 100% capacity. And so I'm sitting there with ChatGPT and I'm like going back and forth trying to figure out what's going on, and come to find out my Dropbox that I have terabytes of content on is locally saving everything onto my desktop.
Oh.
So I'm trying to figure out how to fix this. So it basically tells me like, hey, you can delete Dropbox. Like first, shut the connection off from Dropbox to your desktop. Done. Shut it off. Okay, now you can delete Dropbox from your computer because everything is on the web. Delete Dropbox off your computer so we can start fresh. So I delete it. We're good. I've reconnected and then try to only locally download the stuff that is like that stuff that I need. For some reason that doesn't work. So I'm just going to leave it off my computer, my desktop. I'll just save it to the I'll just save it to the web, and when I need something in Dropbox, I'll download it from the web.
Yeah.
So great. I'm good. Dropbox is off my computer. My computer is completely I've opened up 50% of my hard drive. I'm good. I go to Dropbox. I open up the file that I was working on. I click download. It downloads. I open it. It's blank. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I realized that when I had started building that estimate, at some point, and I forget why or what triggered me to do it, but I turned off sync to Dropbox, so the file wasn't saving to Dropbox like correctly, and so now the file is just gone. It's not
What
on
program are you building it in?
in Excel.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't exist. Like I try to go through the recovery, like it's just not there. And I'm like, okay. I mean, 11 hours worth of work. Like I'm literally texting Meg. She's like, hey, what time are we meeting up? I'm like, I'm wrapping up. I'm going to be out of here in 5 minutes. All right, great. See you then. And I get there and she's like, do you get it done? I'm like, I did. It's gone. And I explain it, and she's like, "What, you're not mad?" I'm like, I can't have a reaction. There's nothing I can do. And this was right before Thanksgiving. And I was like, I'm going to have to go in on Friday and redo it. She goes, how long is it going to take? I'm like, it won't take 11 hours, but it's going to take me some time. So I came in on Friday and I did it. It took me 7 hours literally of just like sitting here
That
from
blows.
I know from memory and leverage and thankfully I had the history of going back and forth with chat and narrating a lot of the scope, so I could pull a lot of that.
Yeah.
So whatever, that sucked. Got it done. Submitted it. Got feedback. Oh my god, this is great. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch. I get a phone call a couple days later. Hey, we're going in a different direction. And I was like, son of a bitch. Like, what? How? Like, why? And, there was a handful of reasons as to, and immediately I'm like, dude, I'm sitting here promoting the fact that this is a good exercise. It's giving me reps, but like, I just wasted. Now, I mean,
Yeah, but you just got 2 more reps.
let's forget the second time I did
2
it.
for the price of 1.
We'll call it 11 hours. Okay, I just wasted 11 hours. Like, my time for 11 hours, like I could be doing something different. Why did I do this? How, like, I mean, it like just went round and around. And the client ended up, giving me a handful of like weird reasons as to why like they went a different direction, but then was like, you know what, Nick, like I just don't even know if I want to spend $3 million, never mind 5. And I was like, whoa, what? And so I'm immediately going into, did I know this? Did we have this conversation? And I'm sitting here like racking my brain. I'm like, well, I remember an early conversation about like they originally wanted to spend 2.5 million, but they knew it wasn't going to be that, and they knew that what they designed was going to be more, and they thought it would be somewhere closer to like 4+ million. So I'm right there. I'm 4 million. There was like $1 million in site work and landscape. I'm like, I'm right. Yeah, I didn't miss something. And it just came down to the fact that they, designed what they wanted, but basically said, let's table the fact that I don't want to spend any money and figure out, hey, what would this cost?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, on one hand, it was frustrating. On the other hand, it was serendipitous, where we literally got an email the same day saying, hey, same market, and sent us plans. They're like, we're really interested in working with you guys. We know a lot about you. We understand what the cost is. Like, we communicated a typical budget. Like, we bumped it up a little bit just to be safe. He's like, yep, totally makes sense. And I was like, here's an example of one we just priced. And he's like, this is amazing. Great. Yeah, let's hop on a call and chat about you guys coming up and building this project.
Nice.
So it's like, all right, it worked out. Like, I was prepped and ready. And again, like, that's the whole part of like putting the reps in. But back to your question about, do we go through it line by line? I think most clients, they value that, and what it does is it gives us the opportunity together to highlight or question things.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, what is that? It's like, oh, well, on the drawings it calls out for this particular. I'm trying to think of an example, but there was something recently with a client where they had asked, I want to say they had asked why we had, like, this is a bad example. Why do you have 5 toilets? It's like, well, there's 5 bathrooms. It's like, oh no, we eliminated that one of them. There's only 4. It's like stuff like that comes up. It's like, wait, we didn't, like, oh, there's an update to the drawing. I didn't realize you eliminated an entire bathroom. So it gives them that feeling as though, they're in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And, I've always said it's a bunch of little numbers that add up to a really big number, right? That's ultimately what we're trying to validate. And, and then I've said it before, and I think I said it in the last episode, but I definitely shared this in the recent email, is, when we're looking at value engineering, it's what can you remove, reduce, or defer? And it's like, removing scope is, obviously the best thing, where it's like, just remove scope. like remove a bathroom, or don't do the basement now, phase, or that would be defer, but don't do something. Or it's a matter of reducing it. It's like, hey, rather than tiling every wall in the bathroom, like let's just tile the wet areas.
Yeah.
Um,
I've always found that line item and just that like super detailed budget for me is a an upsell and also a differentiator, and then it the transparency there builds trust where
mhm,
they can go through and they can ask questions, or if they are going to compare, they can question me on any number, and
mhm,
I can explain and validate those numbers honestly and transparently, which to me it's like if there's a number in there that's standing out to them, there's a reason why, and it winds up being a selling tactic for me, because they're like, well, why's the foundation on this cost this much? And it's like, well, we spoke with my mason, and here are the challenges with that.
mhm,
We could redesign that, but these are the reasons why. And then if you are in the world of competitive bidding, it allows them to ask other people, are they doing the same? Or at least question, right? Is the other contractor accounting for this? And I think a lot of times it validates the higher number, where there's just opportunity to differentiate yourself through those numbers. If your paint number is higher than other people, well, why is your paint number higher? It can't just be
mhm.
higher for the sake of being higher. But if there's reasons why it's higher, and the amount of prep that you do and the level of finish that you're looking to execute, for me, it was always just a really good selling feature for pricing projects, even prior to me getting paid for pre-construction, which growing up, that it was the opposite. And even when I first started offering some sort of pre-construction services through an article I read in JLC, it was, you can create the line item budget for yourself, but you want to give them an all-in number. It shouldn't be a la carte. They shouldn't be able to pick and choose what they want. And I did that for a really long time, and I felt that it didn't serve me very well. But I think that was something that was very typical. I know a lot of people do it too. I mean, there's memes out there where people are like, "Can you break it down for the estimate?" And then it's people dancing. But like, it's never served me well to just give somebody a big number with no explanation behind it. Like, I'm not looking to hide numbers.
Yeah.
I'm invoicing people the same way that I'm budgeting people. So if I'm invoicing them that way, why wouldn't I show them everything up front? Like, it protects me and it protects them.
Yeah, I think it is funny because that meme pops up quite a bit. And I was going to make a reference to like when you buy a car, because on one hand, when you buy a car, like you get the sticker, right? Everything is broken down. Now it doesn't say like, 6.2 liter is $5,200, but the optional things, like there's price, like, hey, the ZR71 or
Yeah.
Z71 package is plus $8,000. What, it's all the options where it's still broken down. So I guess what I'm getting at is you could put together the estimate, break it down in terms of scope, but maybe it's one lump sum. The whole lump sum side of it, I think, is, at least for the way I look at it, is more product based, where it's like when you're buying a car, you're buying a product. Now, when you go bring that car in for service, which building and remodeling, is a service, you're getting a breakdown. It's like oil filter, you know, $24, or, 6 quarts of oil, et cetera, right? Like, 0.75 hours. Like, it's broken down, so you do see it's like, okay, that's what it took to do that job, and here's the markup and profit. I think that's, for me, when I think about our business long term, I would love to be in the product business, where it's like we're building a product and selling it. It's what we're doing with White Oak. It's what we hope to continue to do, but we'll always have the service side of, like, building a custom home, where it's someone is hiring us for the service of building. And I think, recently I've thought about this a lot, where, we're we're actually hired as a CM for a project, and so we're not even the GC, we're not building it, we're not hiring the trades. And, you know earlier I found it really interesting. I'm like, it's like, what's the benefit of us being a CM? right? Like there's already a GC running the job. Like why do they also need us to be plugged in as a CM? And the reality is because they like our process.
Yeah.
They like the way we communicate, the way we organize, the way we oversee the project. And that GC will do a great job. And they ultimately probably could do a great job without us. But the client values the organization and the accountability that we hold amongst the team. So that is a service, right? They're adding that on to that's like, all right, you're going back to the car analogy. It's like, hey, you need an oil change. It's like, all right, well, we can come pick your car up. Like you don't have to do
Yeah.
that, but it's nice where like we'll just come pick it up or the guy on Instagram. I think we talked about him, right?
Yeah.
Like the guy that does the oil changes. If you guys
Yeah.
haven't seen, I wish I could know what the account is. This guy does the best oil changes in your
It's
driveway.
sick.
It's so good. But that's an added service. Like you don't need that, but it's the convenience of having it. And so I guess for like us thinking about this CM role or just thinking about the way in which we're hired as a builder and the way in which we communicate like service versus product, is I think directly related to that whole transparency side of it. Truthfully, we had a client we did years ago. We did this basement, and I remember putting together a really detailed estimate. And I'll never forget. She was like, "Nick, I actually don't want to see this." I was like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "I'd rather you just tell me how much it is, not show me how much money you're making." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, I'm not even making like for the job it was. I was like, and I was doing it as a big favor. I was like, I'm not even making that much money.
Yeah.
I'm like, but you'd rather just see a lump sum. So I guess, from a client's perspective, some clients do want like just tell me what it is. Like your client example, it's like you did all this work, and the client's like, yeah, like it looks good. Where it's
Yeah.
like they
She was
just look
like,
at the
I was
number.
like, yo, I just spent 40 hours on that between like getting subs out, going to the job, working
She's
with
like,
the
I wish you
architect.
saved that and took 40 hours off
No,
my cost.
she's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, it does look great, but like, I already knew
She's like,
what it
Tyler,
was
why
going
don't
to,
you capitalize your letters?
yeah, like what it was going to cost. It didn't really matter. Um, but I do like, and it to me, I think that one big thing to note is it doesn't matter whether you're fixed cost, whether you're time and material, whether you are cost plus builder. To me, there's a ton of value and transparency with your numbers for all of that. And for me, even more so with lump sum or fixed costs, because if you are pricing a fixed scope and a fixed cost job, you need to ensure that you are protected. And I think having full transparency with your numbers and scope provides you with protection when you go to do that job if something changes within that scope, within those numbers. So it's not reserved only for T&M. It's not
Mhm.
reserved only for cost plus. I think it's especially important with fixed costs to be able to create that transparency with that job, and that protects you more than most anything. Like for me, that's the biggest thing, is just protecting me, making sure that the scope that I'm building is accurate, that it is meeting the client's expectations for what they're getting. And I mean, there's times where I struggle with that as well. The expectation is tough to set on the projects that I'm doing because we don't have full renderings. We don't
Mhm.
have 100-page drawings. They're typically 2-3 pages of what we need, and then like the expectation is basically what they see me build in the past. Like there's just a level of execution that they anticipate. But I mean, I surprise myself at times. I surprise clients at times. Like so I'm doing this porch right now, and I like at the end of the day I step back and I was like, this is turning out really nice. And I'm like, I know where I am with numbers and all that, and but the client's still paying me like T&M for everything,
Mhm.
and like we're on budget, but I was like, I hope I'm not making it too nice. And she's like, is that really a thing? Like, as long as it doesn't cost me $500,000, like, I don't care. She's like, I was speaking with my boyfriend, and he's like, I don't know what I was imagining when we said screened in porch, but this is like completely different than that. And I was like, yeah, it is turning out pretty nice. But like the budget, it's not as though I just didn't give them a budget and it wasn't there. Like the budget justifies
Mhm.
what I'm building for it. But like still, even with that, there's expectations that you need to set forth, and sometimes it's difficult. It's difficult to clearly articulate what those expectations are when you don't have 100-page drawing. So like what you have to be careful is that clients don't like I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum where it's better than they anticipated, but
Mhm.
when you're on the other side of it where it's like, well, I thought I was going to be getting more, that's where you're going to get yourself into trouble. So you have to protect yourself from that, right? Where it's like, well, we thought it was going to look like this $300,000 kitchen. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, no, you're only paying $75,000. This is what a $75,000, and this is probably nicer than a $75,000 kitchen. So just making sure that you're meeting those expectations with your budgeting and with your schedule and with your scope. And for me, the transparency of numbers and line item budget really helps with all of that stuff. It helps protect me a lot.
I think that brings up an interesting story. A couple of years ago, we priced a project, and we were in pre-construction for a long time, and ultimately, I remember we met to sign a contract, basically like review the final budget, sign contract, and at the end of the meeting, they were like, "Well, we're not going to sign the contract today." I was like, "Okay." And about a week later, he called and said, "We're going to move forward with another guy." And I promise you guys, we have projects like we. I'm only telling the stories of stuff we don't do, but I was like, I would love to understand where we're at. And the long story short was he had this friend who was a builder, worked for his family, and truthfully, I don't think he was super honest with me. Looking back, I think he wanted I think that other builder didn't have the capacity to work through the pre-construction, and I think that they ultimately just wanted us to help with pre-con, which I would have been totally fine with. Just be upfront about it.
Yeah.
And but the deciding factor was he was quote unquote $1 million cheaper, and I'm like, with
What
all due
was the
respect,
total number of the job?
we were five.
Yeah.
And he was four. And I was like, it just he can't be. Like we're not it doesn't
Yeah.
it can't be
20% is a lot.
it can't be the same project. And but this is where I'm going with this. He was like the builder told me it is the same. And I was like,
So you're just
okay. So when you said, the line item pricing like really builds trust and like gives the opportunity like for the client to understand what goes into it, I agree to some extent. The other side of it is, can the builder, you, me, or this other guy have the confidence to say, no, you don't need that? And ultimately, like I watched that project unfold and get built, and like critical details and product selections and things like that we spent months like going back and forth on because he had like very specific requirements aren't aren't there anymore.
yeah.
And I was like, I could have built that house for $4 million. That you specifically didn't want. The specific example is they didn't want. They wanted doors in the back of their building to be fabricated stainless steel, so they would never rust. Right, like that's a super specific
Yeah.
door. And I'm watching it get built, and they're Marvin's. And nothing against Marvin, like nothing against any manufactured door. It's just not what we had asked for.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, the client had asked for. The client wanted something that was completely corrosion resistant, never to rust. That's not that particular door is not going to survive like what we had spec'd. It's also about an eighth of the cost of what we had spec'd. And there was multiple details that kind of all led to the $1 million in savings and I'm watching firsthand. My point is, I can only imagine that builder's like, you don't need that. this will be fine. You don't need that. This will be
Well, I
fine.
mean, I think that's what it comes down to, and what I was going to ask you, where it's like, how much of that do you feel is you driving those decisions
Yeah.
based on, like, I understand a client coming to you and saying, "Hey, we want something that's completely corrosion resistant," but
And
what
I
if
just
you
go to
were
the
to
moon for it.
correct, and what if
Yeah.
you were to have the conversation where, like, yeah, I understand that, but stainless doors are going to be 8 times the
Yeah.
cost. You could replace these 4 times over
Right.
and still have the money for the doors. So, like, how much of that is,
Mhm.
and I just had this conversation offline with you last week where it comes down to, yeah, you're building your company and you want to protect your reputation and you want
Mhm.
to build a business based on your needs and your wants. But at what point do you allow that to get in the way of your profitability? Like, at some point you have to be like, you know what? As a business, I have to make money. As a business, we need to keep the lights on. And at the end of the day, there's times where I need to push my wants and needs aside, not for something that's going to jeopardize my reputation, but
No,
like,
but
you're
you're
not
right.
going to just be hacking work together.
Yeah.
But there's other options in between the ceiling and the floor that are decent options. And I think that a lot of times that probably comes into play, especially for clients. And like, I could see that builder doing that. And not that that's right. Like, I think that somebody should be straightforward and open and honest with you, but
Mhm.
there's probably options. Like, 20% is obviously not the same job. Those are two different jobs.
Mhm.
If executed well, it's just a different job. And
Yeah.
it's not that necessarily one's better or worse. I think that it comes down to what's most important to the client. And when you show them, hey, you could save 20% on a $5 million job, they're probably going to jump at that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm going through this right now. We have a project that we're also in pre-com with, and they're gonna. There's just like there's very specific budget constraints. There's going to be some phasing of the project to build it over the course of a couple of years. And yesterday, I'm going through, basically our tier 2 estimate, and I'm like, man, this project's more expensive than they want to spend on this phase 1. And I had that same conversation with myself yesterday. I'm like, man, am I trying to plug in details that matter to me that don't matter to them?
Yeah.
And the answer is, yeah, probably. I mean, yeah. And where it's like I could build something that they would be completely happy with for the number that they want, and I'm trying to spend more to make them and me happy. And you're right. I think a lot of us do that. We want to build passive house. We want to build super architecturally driven projects. It's like we all want that. The ideal situation is that we only build that. Um, but that's not the reality.
Well, yeah, you're
And
trying to create a marketing program that supports the projects that you want to be doing. But like, that's part of being in business for yourself. You want to be doing things the way that you want to be doing, and you want to be building the product that you desire to build for many reasons. But I think that a lot of us do get in our own way, where it's like
mm,
we're cutting our profitability and our margins in order to build something because
that
it's
we
cool.
want.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, I mean, I had this conversation with somebody at Contractor Coalition where he was saying, it'd just be so sick to build this full wall of glass. And I'm like, it'd also be sick to have the money in your bank account, right? Where it's like, yeah, but there's a huge cost difference there, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of challenges with that. And if there's higher profitability, you shouldn't be conceding those costs. It depends on what position you're in, but if you're in the position where you're looking to bump your margins in the first place, like, that's probably not the way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's how I built my entire career. It's just
Yeah,
like and doing do and I people ask me all the time. It's like, should I do that? Should I take this project? I'm like, yes, maybe. I don't think how I've built my business is necessarily the correct path. And I also, like, you know better than anyone how some of those decisions have been emotionally and mentally taxing.
Yeah.
And I think that, thank God I have the fortitude to power through it, because it's a lot. And it's like, if I thought about this last night. I had a day, and I'm like, I'm just I'm at a 9 out of 10 in terms of stress level right now. And I'm like, dude, I could make so much money just doing normal ass shit. I could just go, we have this small kitchen renovation coming up that will go through the cabinet shop. And I'm like, I could just do it. I could put my bags on and just go there every day, be like the smaller version of what Tyler does, and just make money. And I know it's perspective. Like, I think we all get into this mindset of like thinking, what was the saying I saw the other day? It's like the whole grass is greener on the other side, but
that's exactly it. And it's funny because going to Contractor Coalition and then just doing this porch, right? It's I would say it's more of the carpentry style of job where it's not like these detail oriented renovations where I'm renovating our front living room at the same time. And as I'm doing that, I'm like, oh, the paint peeled this little bit of caulking off, like put that on my list of things to do and to touch up. And I'm like, just all the little shit that just becomes so taxing. And then I'm outside working on a porch and 20 feet up. Like if something isn't perfect, that's okay. Like it's gonna move, it's PVC, everything else. But I'm like, there's something to be said for that. And I think that a lot of people, it's one of those jobs that people see and they're like, it would just be so fun to be out there making sawdust with that. And like it is, because it's different for me. But if I did this type of project every day, it would be the same shit.
That's the key. Because it's different.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you're doing, like, I've been in the office constantly. I'm just constantly in the office trying, like, building the business, working on marketing, chasing down jobs, working through Precon. And it's like the rare case that I get out in the field and I'm helping move shit, sweep shit, do something, whatever it is. It's just like, this is great.
Yeah. So like I had a blast demoing, doing the site work on that job.
That's because you were in your excavator.
Yeah, but like even footings and then all the layout, the structure, the framing of the roof, that was all fun. And then when you get to the point where it's like now we need blocking and hangers and all the bullshit detail framing, I'm done with it. The stairs were fun. But then it gets to the point where all that's done and I'm starting the decking and I'm like, all right, I'm over this. And then I'm at the point now where you're trimming stuff out and you can see it. So it's fun again, right? It's like, oh, this is looking good. It's coming together. But then even yesterday, it was freezing cold out. I'm trimming out the interior door and prepping for paint and the amount of tools that you need just for one little doorway between a caulk gun, foam for the casing, wood glue, all. And I'm like, all right, this sucks. Like, I'm so annoyed with this. I don't want to be doing this crap right now. And there's not enough space to work. And then like, I don't know, it's something new. It's something different. And I think that a lot of times it's just perspective, right? And it comes down to perspective of what you're doing. If I framed roofs on a daily basis, I'm sure I'd be like, I don't feel like throwing another freaking rafter up here. But it's the challenge of something new, which I think is probably what you chase a lot, right? It's just, I don't want to be doing the same thing. I don't want to be doing the same details. I don't want to constantly be pushing the envelope, but I try and balance that with, I understand the first time I do something is going to create inefficiencies for myself that I can't capture from a business perspective. Regardless, I'm T&M, but like if there was learning or if I screwed something up, I'm always backing down hours because of inefficiencies or because I think I wasn't as productive as I should be. I'm always rounding down my hours, which I'm perfectly fine with because I'm grateful to be in the position I am with my clients. and I want to maintain budget, and I'm getting paid way more than I ever have to be on projects. So like I'm never charging more than 8 hours in a day unless I say, hey, we're gonna work like 12 hours today. But if I'm there for 8.5, 9 hours, it's like it's one day. I know
Yeah.
that there was time
It's
that I
like a
was
day
either on
rate.
my phone. Yeah. It, like even yesterday, right? I was there for 5.5, 6 hours, and it's like, all right, 5 hours. Like I know there was downtime that I was bullshitting, that I was either taking a phone call or whatever it may be. But I'm like well aware of that. But I do think it's one of those. Just so many people have reached out. I mean, you sent me a DM where it's like, "Yo, can I come work for you?" And it's just like people see what I'm doing, and I think it's what people got into this industry for, and it is appealing to be doing that type of work, and it is gratifying. And there are a lot of days where it's like that, and there's some days where it just freaking sucks. It's
Mm.
raining, or it's hot, or it's freezing, or it's stressful, or something didn't go right. But I think for the most time, it's been a fun job. It's been a profitable job. It's been something that, like, I don't know, I've enjoyed doing. But I wouldn't. I do always tell people that the grass is always greener, right? I don't see, personally. I don't look to what a lot of other people are doing and say I wish that were me. But I do think a lot of people who are in who are wearing the shoes of a bigger business owner see what I'm doing and are like, damn, I wish I could have made that work. They just never
Mhm.
found a way to make that work.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I think every once in a while I feel like, oh, I wish that I was doing that. Most of the time, I'm like, no, I like what I'm doing. I just wish I was at this point. Like it's
Yeah.
always the like, oh, I just need to get here. The saying I was thinking about is there was a saying about the grass is always greener on the other side, and it followed up by, yeah, because there's shit in it.
Yeah.
And, and I'm like, I love that. I'm like, because it's like, I mean, you relate that back. It's like they're going like, it's fucking hard.
Yeah.
It's like they're dealing with shit, and it's like, yeah, like it's not like, if you think about growing grass, it's like you don't can't just grow grass. Like you want really nice lawn, like that's work.
Dude, I literally like had that conversation just with regard to grass to my client yesterday because he's like, we plant grass seed in springtime. And I was like, yeah, I was going to put something down sooner, but like, because there's a decent grade off of the patio that we put in and all that. But I was like, I guess I compacted everything well enough that nothing's washing out. So I don't want to put topsoil in and all that stuff till spring. Just doesn't make sense. But she was like, yeah, I don't fertilize or anything like that. So a lot of times my grass kind of goes to crap. I don't want to put chemicals on my lawn. And I was telling her how difficult it is to actually grow nice grass and how expensive it is and actually how shitty it is for the environment. So it was like literally having that conversation yesterday
Dude, you ever
on the
see the guys?
project.
You ever see the guys on like Instagram that have like the
The
fairway
real
lawn?
mowers. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just saw one this morning.
Like it's like I was watching. Yeah, you got a whole truckload of sand. I'm like, he just sands his whole yard. I'm like, dude, and then
Yeah, and
it's
then they
like,
use like a real mower.
yeah, and then it's. I mean, it's insane. The thing with that, I'm like, I appreciate number one the dedication and like how good it looks, but your neighbors doesn't look like that.
Now, and also like one dog comes and pisses on your lawn and you're screwed.
Oh yeah, well then you're ripping it up and like you're doing surgery. But it's more. I'm like, if I feel like the only way that looks good, guys, I think it looks ridiculous when you're the only one, and then every other
Yeah,
neighbor just looks, if say everyone else has just like normal ass grass, and you just the one guy that has like flat carpet grass.
yeah. I
It's
don't
like,
I don't get it. It also it would just make it so not enjoyable for me because
mhm.
if it weren't perfect, it would just
Yeah.
stress me out.
Well, there's one there's actually one that I see a lot. He's got this. It's got to be like a 4 foot wide strip between him and his neighbor, and he only does 2 feet. I'm like, just do your neighbors.
Yeah, at the
And I
same time.
I mean, reading between the lines, I think his neighbor doesn't want him to.
Yeah.
I'm like, so this looks. It's like when Boston, you have all the double wides, like the two townhomes next to each other, and then like the neighbor paints all the trim white,
Oh
but then you
yeah.
have that centerpiece of trim, and like the other guy's like pink.
Yeah.
It's like, can't you guys decide like, hey, let's communally paint this so it looks like one nice building, not
Yep. Or like the roof, the shingles changed halfway between on like the twin houses where it's like
yeah.
you literally just stopped shingling halfway through. You couldn't have been like,
I'm not shingling my neighbor's house. I'm like, dude, it's like less than a square.
oh my
It's a
God.
small mansard roof. Just work with them.
That's so funny. Um, yeah, I've been enjoying myself. It's been a nice job to close the year out, wrap things up. It's been a little bit chilly lately, but there is
Dude, it's
something to be
cold.
said for not working in someone's house at the end of the year where they're getting ready,
Mm.
and you like see the Christmas tree go up, and then they have people over for Thanksgiving, and I'm like, damn, it doesn't even matter. Like, if I finish this now or I finish this in January, nobody's sitting outside right now. Like, I'm just way less stressed right now wrapping things up because I'm not trying to close out an interior space where I just see like gifts coming in and family plans and everyone just living inside because it's too cold to go outside. I just like,
Mm.
I'm out by myself, turn some lights on. I'm not bothering anyone except for maybe the neighbors. It's been a way less stressful end of the year, even though I have a ton of shit to do with like, I mean, I'm doing my house, I'm doing that project. Obviously, we have a lot of other balls in the air, and I'm like way less stressed than I normally am closing the year out, which is good.
I'm not in that position.
No. I mean,
But
I have a lot going on. There's a big difference between
no, I can totally
working on the back of somebody's
yeah,
house, not having to go inside of their house any day,
100%.
than being inside and cleaning up and everyone being home, like coming home from school and everyone's inside because nobody's going outside because it's cold out. And I feel like I'm just working around shit the whole time. And you're just stressed counting the days until you have to be out of there.
I
Um,
I was forever counting the days. Like I'm like I got to get this place done and sold before it gets cold. I'm like now it's cold. I'm like I'm never gonna sell it in the cold. And people are like, why wouldn't you sell it in the cold?
yeah.
I'm like it's just a bad time of the year. I'm like they're like Nick, you you don't really have much of an option here. The
Yeah.
holidays are in 2 weeks. Like this is the cards you're dealt. Like you gotta ignore that. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm like, I just didn't want it to be cold. I wanted it to be green and
Yeah.
nice and people like in their t-shirts. And they're like, yeah, well, it's not. So
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, I guess let's make it nice and toasty. And the fireplace went in yesterday. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about the fact that we could be using it when
Yeah.
people are walking through. I'm like, that's
What did you ever do with the framing on that? I remember the one time we walked it and there was like clearance issues with the vent pipe
um,
early on because you wanted it to lay out with like the white oak ceiling.
yeah. So originally it was supposed to be a wood burning stove that was against the wall in the front. We end up not being able to do that because we could get I think this is what you're talking about. We could get the chimney up to the second floor, but we couldn't get it up through the roof because
Yeah,
it turned too many times because it's wood burning.
yeah,
So we end up switching to basically a 360-degree. It's like a fire pit almost.
yeah.
So it's in the room a little bit more, and it goes through the oak beams in the ceiling and straight up through the roof.
Okay, and it's
Um,
gas now.
no, it's wood burning.
Okay,
So it's essentially, I want to say it's maybe like a big 50-inch. It looks like almost like a teppanyaki
yeah,
like plate that sits on the floor, and most of it's recessed. And then 2 feet above that is this kind of like upside down funnel that's the hood, and it has this glass shroud around it. It's super cool. It's called a filio focus, and it just I mean, I don't know. It's super cool looking, and it's more of like a fire pit. It's almost like ski lodge,
yeah.
where you can kind of sit around it. Um, but it went in yesterday. I'm like, man, that's super cool.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Start burning that thing, man.
I know. I remember when we finished our Steve Teague project, when the fireplace was all done. Everyone's like, so who's gonna test this?
Yeah,
I was like, let's just do it. And they're like, yeah, Why don't you do it, Nick?
Fingers
I
crossed.
was like, come on. But yeah, they're going to be wrapped up with that this week, and I'm like, man, we got to test it. And then like when we're walking clients through there, you got to get them in that living room and seeing that thing. So
Yeah, that's sick.
yeah, that'd be cool.
Well, there you have one perk for the cold weather.
Yeah, the fireplace. You know what? That's actually funny because when we bought, I've told the story before, but when we looked at our place in New Hampshire, it was the height of COVID, and we drove up to New Hampshire to look at this little log cabin, not because we were going to buy it. Like we didn't have the money to buy it. We simply just were trying to get out of the house to do something. And Meg's family happened to have a house on this street growing up, so she was just like, let's just go look at it. Like it's something to do with the kids. Get out of the house. We're trapped here. And we drove up the driveway. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And they opened the door and they had the wood burning stove going.
Oh yeah.
And I walked in. I'm like, we should buy this place. And she goes, what? I'm like, look at the wood burning stove. And she's like, that got you? I'm like, yeah, it did.
It's like when people like bake cookies when they're going to show their house, and you walk in and you're like, oh my God, it smells so good in here.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, at Rachel's dad's funeral, they had like baked cookies that they were baking, like
in the funeral home.
Yeah, so when you walked in, it smelled like cookies, and I was like, it's kind of nice.
It is, but it's also like
they had like coffee and dessert bar there.
So I know, but like I feel like every time I smell cookies, it's gonna. I mean, I guess that's a good memory to have. I mean,
better than like I feel like most funeral homes are in these nasty old Victorians that just smell like old
nasty
houses,
old Victorians,
and you can smell like the natural gas leaks in them.
Like, we don't even have gas. It's like, you sure about that? It's like whatever you capped is not.
You just smell your basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Sweet. Well, hopefully the job continues to go well and you get some nice fire pits closing that job out.
I feel it, man. We're close.
That's awesome.
All right, guys. Well, you know what to do. Make sure you head over to moderncraftsman.co, sign up for the newsletter. It's the only way you're going to get the behind the scenes of these episodes and more information for you guys in terms of what's going on in the background. And, we oftentimes share a lot of free stuff there too, templates and agreements and just what's going on in the day-to-day in our businesses. So moderncraftsman.co, sign up for the newsletter, and we'll see you next week.